I don't know if you want to call him a church father, but he's early. This is from the time of Constantine. He wrote the church histories. Let me just show this real quick. Eusebius, Preparation for the Gospel. And here's what it says about all this stuff, okay? It says, it was a custom in the ancients, in great crisis of danger for the rulers of a city or nation, in order to avert common ruin, to give up the most beloved of their children for a sacrifice as a ransom to the avenging daemons. And those who were thus given up were sacrificed with mystic rites. Kronos, who the Phoenicians call El, or Elus, who was a king of the country and subsequently, after his decease, was deified as the star Saturn, had by a nymph of the country named Anobret, an only begotten son, whom on this account they called Yedud, the only begotten son being called among the Phoenicians. And when very dangers from war beset, he arrayed his son in royal apparel and prepared an altar and sacrificed him. And then it says that because he sacrifices his father first, or not sacrifice, he emasculates his father Aranos, and then he circumcises himself and makes it a custom among the Phoenicians from that day forward that every male born has to circumcise themselves. This is not the Old Testament. This is a Phoenician story. So how does Eusebius come around this? This is prophecy for Christ. This is leading up to this is just like, this is scripture, he says. This is scripture that we should take. Oh, I think I muted you by accident.
Oh, just like Isaiah 53, it's a prophecy for Christ. Isn't it, Neil?
And like, you know what's interesting? I wonder why more Christians don't do that.
Actually, yeah, because if you're gonna take, so that just so everyone that was a joke.
Instead of saying it's the devil, and then looking like
it was a prophecy,
say it's a prophecy.
Actually, yeah, because so Neil and I did a full episode on Isaiah 53 on my channel, but the so that was kind of like a wink, wink, nudge. But you're right, Neil. It's like why don't they just look at other scripture, even that this could work all around the world. This would actually solve that problem with the little circle, right? Like other nations, like you could look into like text from India, text from from all around the world, and then read into it Jesus. You could. I wonder if there's a book that's done that, like where someone's tried to find Jesus in everything. Like you see Jesus in toast, and oil stains on the road and stuff. People see Jesus, but I wonder if someone's done that with like all the ancient texts, like ancient Roman, ancient Greek. It would be interesting.
I wonder why. Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm trying to find the circumcision one. There's a lot of stuff here. But yeah, if you want to find it, it's in here. It's in Eusebius. You have a circumcision and you have a sacrificing the only son thing, and it's the story of Saturn. And by the way, Saturn's day is the Sabbath. So there's a lot of connections going on there, and
okay,
you can see how and it's not to say that the Judaism is borrowing from this story, but what's more likely is that both of these stories are coming from a common source.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's hard to prove that this story right here, it's Saturn, all these new hemerizations happening, that this story predates the Genesis. I don't know if that's the case, but I do think that that this story that I just read is coming from a common source of these two texts. That's what I think. Thanks.
It's you have to think about like the things that we take for granted today, and like how like we got like we said, the superheroes, they all wear they might have a cape, they have masks, they hide their identity, they wear colorful clothes. Like all these things are just written into what we know as superheroes, but imagine if we didn't have writing. That would just be like a cultural norm. So someone writes a story about a superhero, you've got a cape.
That's Yahweh, and this is El.
That's Yahweh, and that's El. So El is in a wheelchair.
Oh wait, maybe it's the other way around. Whatever. It's one. I think this is El and this is Yahweh. It doesn't. They're both there. Yeah.
Yeah. it's
basically whichever one it is, El or Yahweh. It could be both. Both of them could be Yahweh. Both of them could be El, or it could be one or the other. But it is an earlier form of the God of the Hebrew Bible. It is an earlier variation of that.
something Francesca Stavrakopoulou says in her book. Let me just find the quote really quickly. She says something that is amazing, I think. So she says, it is well known after 6 days. After 6 days of speaking the heavens and the earth into existence, Yahweh is said to have rested from all the work he had done on the seventh day. Jewish and Christian theologians, this is the part that's important. And should I share my? I'll share my screen so people can enjoy the reading experience.
Sure.
So this is a video I put together, but I'm quoting from the book. Christian and Jewish theologians are so accustomed to imagining God as a deity unfettered by physical limitations that the idea of a divine rest tends to be reverently cast as a day of reflection and contemplation. But the Bible itself offers a more pragmatic reason for God's day of rest. He was running out of puff. As a deity himself tells Moses in the book of Exodus, in the 6th day Yahweh made the heavens and the earth, and on the 7th day he rested and caught his breath. So, like, you see here, like, the Hebrew Bible and the Hebrew God initially was a physical deity, and this is something that kind of blew me away. Like like we have this perspective talking about the superheroes again. We have this perspective of God being this like unfettered, strong, omnipresent, non-physical being, where the Hebrew Bible actually has God as this like starts off like you were saying, starts off with El. Moves into, is maybe adopted into Adonai or Yahweh, and it's like this. You can see it developing, and even in the Garden of Eden, Adam is walking. You're muted. Adam is walking with
No, I'm not. I was looking for.
Oh, okay.
I thought I had it around me somewhere. It's the Mesopotamian myths, but they have the 7 tablets of creation, and it's interesting that in some of the tablets, like tablet. I'm just throwing. I wish I had it in front of me right now, but you can look this up. In some of the tablets, like tablet 3, matches up with some of the stuff that happens in day 3. Like Adam and Eve are created. Was it day 4 or something? And then it's like on the tablet 4, he created whatever. And then the seventh tablet, the gods all rest. So I'm like thinking there might be some. With these 7 tablets of creation, might have something to do with the 7 days of creation in the Bible.
Interesting.
I had it in front of me. I was just talking about this with somebody the other day. Maybe I could find it in here. Go ahead though.
Oh, that's all I had. All I was kind of pointing out is like the idea, like God has developed through history. So the idea of God has developed. The stories written about God, the stories of Noah, were taken from other, but it's not a plagiarism thing. It's not like stealing. It's literally this development of ideas. And what I was saying before about like the polemic, like Dr. Josh talks about a theory that's a theory in scholarship, which is that the primeval history, the first 9 chapters of Genesis, are a polemic against Mesopotamian society. Like it's an attack. So the Epic of Gilgamesh, I think it is, or it's not the Enuma Elish. I think it's the Epic of Gilgamesh. And once again, we're doing a video on this, so I'm not 100% fresh. But it's like the story of the Epic of Gilgamesh is like, towards Mesopotamian civilization. So you've got this like Enkidu and like in the forest, and the story kind of progresses from being in the forest and wild and crazy and like and then drinking beer, and goes all the way up to like this perfect Mesopotamian society. And then you look at the story of Genesis, and it's a similar thing with Noah's flood and stuff, but it's about God being upset with society, and like the Tower of Babel, and God, and society creating like, I've always wondered by that. Why would God be angry at people building a tower, especially when it was smaller than the towers that we have today, and splitting up the languages and casting everyone out? Well, it makes sense if you look at Genesis as a polemic, like a strong attack against the story of the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's like, this is our story. God, our God, Yahweh, Adonai, El, our God is actually angry at Mesopotamian society, and that's what it's kind of happening here. And you look, Abraham, like, what does Abraham do? Abraham, like, spends the rest of his days going around in tents. He wants nothing to do, Sodom and Gomorrah is destroyed. He wants nothing to do with the towns. They're evil, they're corrupt. Tower of Babel is corrupt. Society is corrupt. So you look at Genesis and you go, okay, Genesis makes a whole lot more sense there, where it's like, if you have the context of the Epic of Gilgamesh, you have the context of Mesopotamian society at the time, Assyriology, it makes sense, because you're like, okay, so it's not literal history, it's a story that's like, we're taking this story. It's like it's like when Tupac wrote the diss song against Biggie, and he used they had that get money or whatever, then Tupac changed to take money, and it was like,
polemic,
first off, fuck you bitch in the quick, hit
that's
him up, right?
That's a classic polemic right there.
That's a polemic. It's like taking something and then like turning it around on them, and so that's what the Hebrews were doing there. It's like, this is our story, our God's the real God, our God is like angry with Mesopotamian society, and that's the video that one day we'll be producing for Deep Drinks. I mean, Dr. Josh has like a million kids and a million things he's doing, so we'll get him one day. But yeah.
So I couldn't find the 7 tablets of creation thing, but anyways, I can make a video on that. That would be a good video topic. It doesn't match up perfectly, but there are some interesting things about the succession of what's happening on each tablet. Like, what new thing is being created on these tablets, and then you're like, oh, that thing is also being created on that same day in the Bible. Like, I wonder if they're both creation stories. They both have the 7 going on. So, and then the 7th day, sure enough, the 7th tablet, the gods all rest. So I'll look into that. I'm gonna find that. Maybe I'll make a video on that. That's actually a good idea. But I just wanted to
quickly shout out, like, there's so many people here that I see in my chat all the time, and I just like, it's great to see you guys here. Constellation Pegasus, Carrie Ann, I see you guys all the time. Pragmatic Crystal, I'm just going through Theophilus 09, I see you sometimes. That's awesome. Like, you got a good crew over here. I mean, most of them probably came to me from you, so
for sure.
Sorry if I missed anyone. I'm just having a look.
Everybody's.
Yeah.
Vinny Vantison says, what about purgatory? We didn't even get into New Testament stuff, but what about purgatory? Is that in the Bible or
Caterpillar? Yeah.
Or even anything Greek? So obviously we're both not, this is amateur hour, but we're just having fun. I'll give you my thoughts on this, right? So there's a text that's not related to, that's credited to Josephus, but scholars think it's probably not Josephus. I have it here. I have it right here. All right, so check this out, right? There's a text in here called On the Dissertation of Hades. It's in the back of Josephus' book. You go to the back of Josephus' book, there's a book called The Dissertation of Hades. And it's interesting because in the Gospels, you hear about the story of the rich man and the poor person that go to hell. Remember that? What is that story called?
Yeah.
And Lazarus, right?
Lazarus, right? Yeah.
Let me pull this up real quick. This is gonna be, you're gonna love this. All right, so I have rich man and Lazarus here. Hold on. And I actually think this has to do with purgatory, in my opinion. I could be wrong. All right. So, all right, rich man and Lazarus. There's a rich man who dressed in purple and fine linen lived in luxury every day. And at his gate was laid a beggar named Lazarus, covered with sores, longing to eat what fell on the rich man's table. Then the time came when the beggar died, and the angels carried him to Abraham's side. I hate that translation because it should say Abraham's bosom.
And what's the difference between what's Abraham's bosom? I've never understood that. Yeah,
I'm going to show you why right now. The rich man died and was buried. In Hades, he was in torment. He looked up and saw Abraham far away. Lazarus was by his side. So they're both in the same place. They both can see each other. It's like they're in the same place. Okay, I just wanted to show that. There's a text called On the Discourse to Hades. It's in the back of the Josephus book. The scholars think it's not really Josephus that wrote this. It might have been Hippolytus. But anyways, he mentions this bosom of Abraham. So I'm just going to read this off to you. In this region, there is a certain place set apart as the lake of unquenchable fire, whereinto we suppose no one has hitherto been cast, but it is prepared for a day aforementioned. I'm just gonna aforementioned by God, in which one righteous sentence shall be deservedly be passed upon all men. Let me just okay. God Himself shall be judge. Says everlasting punishment as having causes of defilement, while the just shall obtain an incorruptible and never fading kingdom. These are now indeed confined in Hades, but not in the same place wherein unjust are confined. For there is one descent in this region, at whose gate we believe there stands an archangel with a host, which gate, when those pass through, are conducted down by the angels appointed over souls. They do not go the same way, but they are just guided to the right hand and are led with hymns sung by the angels appointed over to that place, to a region of light, in which the just are dwelt from the beginning of the world, not constrained by necessity, but ever enjoying the prospect of good things.